Something satisfying just happened in professional pickleball, and almost nobody is talking about the real reason it matters. Ben Johns, the most dominant player this sport has ever seen, just changed his serve. After 9 full years of using the exact same service motion, the #1 ranked player in the world walked onto the court at the Newport Beach Open with a completely different approach. He stepped into the ball. A subtle shift in mechanics that transforms a neutral shot into an actual weapon. And you know what happened next? He won everything. Double gold. Again. Men's doubles with Gabe Tardio, mixed doubles with Annalie Waters. He barely broke a sweat on Championship Sunday. But here is what makes this story so much bigger than one tournament. While Johns was quietly retooling his game in Southern California, the entire Major League Pickleball landscape just detonated. Trade Window #2 opened, and the moves were massive. Dylan Frazier shipped to the Texas Ranchers, Christian Alshon heading to Brooklyn, Jesse Irvin landing in Atlanta, multiple teams completely reshuffling their rosters. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why Johns made this change now, what it reveals about how he sees the future of pickleball competition, and how the MLP trade frenzy is connected to a much bigger shift happening across the entire professional pickleball ecosystem right now. If you follow pickleball at all, you already know who Ben Johns is. But let me give you 3 moments that define exactly where he stands in March 2026, because the context matters for everything that comes next. First, the origin. Johns was a tennis player who transitioned to pickleball and almost immediately became the best player anyone had ever seen. He did not climb the rankings gradually over several seasons. He arrived and he took over. Within months, he was beating veterans who had been playing the sport for years. His hand speed, his court awareness, his ability to construct points like a chess player, it was all there from the beginning. Second, the breakthrough that separated him from everyone else. When he partnered with Annalie Waters in mixed doubles, they created what might be the most dominant partnership in any racket sport currently being played on the planet. Since they joined forces at Desert Ridge in January 2022, they have played 66 consecutive tournaments together in mixed doubles. And in that entire stretch, spanning over 4 years, they have never once failed to win gold in back-to-back events. Let that sink in. 66 tournaments, 4+ years, never lost consecutive events in the same discipline. Third, the current moment. As of the Newport Beach Open in March 2026, Ben Johns holds the most gold medals of any male player this season. He has won men's doubles with Gabe Tardio for the 4th consecutive event in 2026, marking their 13th title together and their 11th this season across all disciplines. And with Waters, he just claimed their 60th mixed doubles title as a partnership. The man is not maintaining his level. He is not holding steady. He is accelerating. And that is what makes the serve change so fascinating. So here is exactly what happened at the SXY Newport Beach Open presented by Jula, which wrapped up on March 9th. Johns made a decision before the tournament even started. He was not going to play singles. The #1 player in the world, the guy who can win any discipline he enters, chose to sit out one of the 3 events. That alone raised eyebrows in the pickleball community. Catherine Parento also sat out entirely for rest, and Paris Todd skipped singles after winning the indoor championships. But Johns skipping singles felt different.
It felt strategic. In the events he did enter, he was absolutely ruthless. In men's doubles, Johns and Tardio did not drop a single game on their way to the final. Their first 4 matches were won by a combined score of 88-48. Do the math on that. That is an average game score of 11-6. They were not just winning, they were dismantling opponents. In the final, they faced Hayden Patrickin and Christian Alshon, a team that had pushed them in 2 previous finals already this season. Johns and Tardio had fewer return errors in the final, 7-2, and they closed it out cleanly. Tardio has now won gold in men's doubles at every single event of the 2026 PPA season. all 5 of them. In mixed doubles, Johns and Waters cruised past the 10th-seeded team of Tina Pisnik and Eric JOHNS'S. Waters and Johns had fewer dinks into the net or wide, 10-2. The longest rally of the final was 42 shots. Between Johns and Waters, they lost only 1 game across all of Championship Sunday. 1 game, the entire day. This exposed one critical pressure point though. Johns is now choosing when and where to compete. And the serve change tells us he is not just managing his schedule. He is actively evolving his game while dominating. Let us get into the 3 reasons this matters more than people realize. First, the tactical dynamics. According to Zane Navratil, who analyzed the change publicly, Johns switched from a completely stationary serve to stepping into the ball. After 9 years of the same motion, 9 years. For context, most professional pickleball players tinker with their serve constantly. They try different grips, different tosses, different spins. Johns never did any of that. He found something that worked in the early days of his career, and he repeated it thousands upon thousands of times until it was completely automatic. It was not broken. His serve was reliable, consistent, and placed well. So why change it now? The step-in serve generates significantly more power because your entire body weight transfers forward through the contact point. It transforms the serve from a positioning shot into an actual offensive weapon. In modern professional pickleball, the return of serve has become increasingly aggressive. Returners are stepping up, taking the ball early and putting pressure on the serving team immediately. The third shot drive or drop is where most points are truly decided. Having a serve that pushes your opponent back even half a step, that forces them to hit up slightly instead of driving through the ball, changes the math on every single rally that follows. Johns does not make changes for the sake of novelty. He makes changes because he sees something in the data, in the film, or in the matchups that tells him the margins are getting thinner. And when the best player in the world decides the margins are getting thinner, every other player on tour should be paying very close attention. Second, the mental and reputational pressure. There is a psychological component to this story that most people are completely missing. Ben Johns is not just the best player in pickleball. He is the standard against which every other player measures themselves. Every single match he plays, his opponents come in swinging for the fences because beating Ben Johns is a career-defining moment. Nobody coasts against him. Nobody takes a casual approach. Every opponent shows up with their absolute best effort, their most detailed game plan, and their highest intensity. That kind of pressure creates a unique strategic problem for the player at the top. When everyone around you is playing at their ceiling, your margin for error shrinks to almost nothing. You cannot have an off day.
You cannot rely on your opponent making mistakes because they are too locked in to make many. The serve change is Johns adding another variable to the equation. He is forcing opponents to throw out their preparation. Think about it from the other side. If you are Christian Alshon or Hayden Patriquin, you have spent hours studying Johns' serve patterns, his placement tendencies, his rhythm. You have built your return strategy around those patterns. And now he walks onto the court with a completely different motion. All that preparation is suddenly worth less. The fact that Johns chose to implement this change during the season, not in the off-season, not after a loss, but while actively winning everything, tells you something profound about his mindset. He did not wait for a problem to force the adjustment. He made it proactively. That is the difference between a player who reacts to adversity and a player who prevents it from ever arriving. Third, schedule management and physical optimization. Johns skipping singles at Newport Beach is part of a larger trend we are seeing across professional pickleball in 2026. The PPA Tour schedule is demanding. Players are managing their bodies across 3 disciplines at tour events, plus MLP team commitments, plus exhibition matches and sponsorship obligations. The physical toll is real. Johns choosing to skip singles is not a sign of weakness or declining ability.
It is a sign of elite-level intelligence about load management. He is optimizing his schedule to peak when it matters most. And the next event on the calendar is the Greater Zion Cup in Ivins, Utah, starting March 23rd. That is a 1,500-point cup event. For perspective, a regular PPA Tour event like Newport Beach is worth 1,000 points to the winner. The Zion Cup carries 50% more weight in the standings. Johns knows this. By resting his body in singles at Newport Beach and banking double gold in the events he did play, he enters Zion fresh, confident, and now armed with a new serve that opponents have barely had time to study or prepare for. He is playing three-dimensional chess while the rest of the tour is still setting up the board. Now here's the part of this story that really stands out, the moment that is genuinely not normal. Ben Johns changed his fundamental serve mechanics after 9 years. Let me put that in full perspective. During those 9 years with the same serve, he became the winningest male player in professional pickleball history. He held the #1 ranking for essentially the entire existence of the modern PPA Tour. His serve was not broken, it was not even slightly underperforming. It was one of the most reliable serves in the entire sport. And he changed it anyway, while winning everything. Players change their serve when something goes wrong, when they start losing service games, when their first serve percentage drops, when opponents start teeing off on their returns. Johns changed his serve while dominating at the highest level the sport has ever seen. Navratil described it as a simple switch from stationary to stepping in, an adjustment that any teaching pro might recommend to a 4-0 player. But Johns was not making it as a developing player. He was making it as the best player on earth, adding one more layer of optimization to a game that was already considered the most complete in pickleball. And the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. In 2024, Johns adjusted his third shot drop to be more aggressive, adding pace and depth. In 2025, he switched men's doubles partners, bringing in Gabe Tardio to replace his previous setup.
A team that is not just trying to compete
and
they are trying to dominate.
Now, in 2026,
now have one of the
changed his
deepest
serve
talent pools in the league.
Every single
season,
in
Johns makes one fundamental change to his game.
Brooklyn made
every
a
single
calculated
time,
bet.
The results
They
improved.
gave up their 7th
This
overall
is not
draft
a player
pick,
who is
almost
protecting
a legacy.
Betting that
This is a
Alshon
player
and Mac,
who is
plus
building
financial
one that
flexibility,
nobody
will
would
serve
ever
them
be able
better
to
long
catch.
term.
That is a franchise thinking 2 or 3 seasons ahead.
While all of this was happening on the PPA Tour, the MLP world was exploding. Trade window number 2 opened, and the activity was unlike anything the league has seen before. The headline trade sent Dylan Frazier to the Texas Rangers, along with Matthew Barlow and cash considerations. In return, the Brooklyn Pickleball team received Christian Alshon and Luka Mack. Think about the significance of that for a second. Frazier was on the opposing side of mixed doubles finals against Johns and Waters on tour. Alshon was Johns' opponent in the men's doubles final at Newport Beach just days before the trade went through. Both of them are now on different MLP teams, facing different matchups with different teammates. The ripple effects do not stop there. The Atlanta Bouncers acquired Jesse Irvin from the Phoenix Flames, sending Daria Walchak and Cash the other way. The LA Mad Drops picked up Jeannie Bouchard from the Florida Smash. The Texas Rangers also brought in Lane Sleeth from the California Black Bears. Brooklyn grabbed Chris Howers from the Black Bears in yet another move. The total number of players changing teams in this window represents the most significant roster reshuffling in MLP history. And the trade deadline does not close until July 15th, which means more moves are almost certainly coming. What does all of this mean for Johns specifically? He operates on a different plane from the trade chaos. His value is so high that no team could afford to acquire him, and no team would ever consider trading him. But the reshuffling of the players around him, the men he faces in PPA doubles finals, the women who partner with his mixed doubles opponents, the teams he will face in MLP events, all of that changes the competitive landscape he navigates. The MLP trades are not just about MLP rosters.
They are about the entire interconnected ecosystem of professional pickleball. So, where does this all go from here? Let us map out two possible routes. Route 1 is the continued dominance path. If the serve change produces even a modest statistical improvement in service games, Johns becomes virtually unbeatable in doubles formats. He already has arguably the best return game in professional pickleball. If his serve game improves by even 2 or 3 percentage points, opponents would need to play essentially perfect pickleball just to stay competitive. For this route to fully play out, two conditions need to be met. First, Johns needs to maintain the consistency and confidence of the new serve under the elevated pressure of a cup event where the points carry 50% more weight. Newport Beach was a strong proof of concept, but the Greater Zion Cup is the real examination. Second, Gabe Tardio needs to continue performing at the elite level he has shown all season. Tardio has won gold in men's doubles at every single event in 2026. If that partnership stays locked in and the new serve adds another dimension, there may not be a doubles team in the sport that can consistently challenge them this year. Route 2 is the regression path. And I want to be completely transparent. The evidence for this happening is slim. But for a complete analysis, here is what it would look like. If the serve change introduces mechanical inconsistency under high-pressure moments, specifically in tight third-game situations where muscle memory matters the most, Johns could see unforced errors creep into his game at critical times.
A serve that is still being grooved into the nervous system can become a liability when the adrenaline spikes and the body reverts to what it knows best. For this route to unfold, a top doubles team would need to exploit the transition period and catch Johns in a vulnerable moment at a major event. The Texas Ranchers with Frazier could theoretically be that team in the MLP format. But based on everything we have seen so far, the overwhelming weight of evidence points to Route 1. Here is my prediction, and I am going to be specific about it. Ben Johns wins at least double gold at the Greater Zion Cup. The new serve will be fully integrated into his game by then because he has clearly been working on it for longer than just one tournament. Tardio is playing the best doubles pickleball of his career and shows no signs of slowing down. Waters remains the most dominant female player in the sport, and their mixed doubles chemistry is unmatched after 60 titles together. The MLP trades will make the league significantly more competitive and more entertaining to watch, but they will not change the fundamental hierarchy at the very top of professional pickleball. Ben Johns is still the king. The only real question left is how many more weapons he decides to add to his arsenal before the 2026 season is over. So here is what I want to know from you. Do you think Ben Johns changing his serve after 9 years is a sign that he sees competitive threats coming that nobody else can see yet? Or is he simply obsessed with perfection and cannot help himself from optimizing even when he is already winning everything? Drop your answer in the comments. A, for he sees threats coming, or B, for he is just built different and cannot stop improving. I will see you in the next one.